Hey guys, Cruxal. Welcome to my no bullshit guide to the Deagle, which is a gun I find to be very overused in lower ranks, and it's definitely a skill gun, which means in the right hands it can be incredibly lethal, but in the wrong hands it'll waste your money and your time and fuck up the round for you and your teammates. First up, counter strafing and stutter stepping is something I've gone over in the past, and it's without a doubt necessary to master before you even think of touching the Deagle. Often in games, as you can't peek and get a bunch of shots down range right away, you do need to master these, and if you are unable to make your first shot connect with the enemy, you're gonna have a lot of time to kill in that engagement before you can accurately fire off another shot. So knowing how to stutter step and juke your opponent is a must to avoid getting killed in that time that you're waiting to fire again. To go over it super quickly, counter strafing's where you tap A or D, vice versa, to stop your movement or start to move in the other direction so that you're unpredictable, and it resets your accuracy. Up next, I personally don't play with a dynamic crosshair, but switching to one while practicing the Deagle could be huge for you, as you will visually see how your movement is affecting the gun's accuracy and better gauge how and when to counter strafe, or how fast you should be stutter stepping and everything like that. So the Deagle takes over a second to completely reset its recoil, and that can often be sped up by crouching, but in reality there are very little situations in game which you can actually crouch after sending a shot out downrange and not be a sitting duck just waiting to get dicked on by the enemy. So while that knowledge is useful, you might not be able to use it too much. When it comes to CT pistol rounds and even T pistol rounds to an extent, you're a fucking queef if you buy a Deagle instead of armor or some equipment. I say this because the USPS and P2000 will still 100% of the time kill an enemy via headshot on these rounds, assuming you're not wallbanging, since nobody can afford helmets, and they have more ammo per clip and mobility when you need to spray and be moving at the same time. And movement is huge on pistol rounds, so that is something that you're forsaking by buying the Deagle. Just don't fucking do it. On T side, it's a bit more understandable, but at the same time, you can upgrade your pistol to a P250 or Tech 9 and still afford a nade or two, which will help your team execute much better throughout the round. The Deagle works best with calm and collected players, and that's why you see pros making these insane plays by using it. You must be quick and concise and know when and where to place your shots, especially when faced with a group of enemies. Too many times have I seen teammates or myself even using a Deagle and they lose their composure and start spraying. Anything less than a half second between shots is what I would consider spraying with a Deagle, and that will never grant you a frag at most ranges, save for some absolute luck and you just get the RNG to hit the enemy somehow. I would say anything over a 5-foot range in this game is where you should not spray. Let's say, however, that you are confronted with a rush and have enemies within 5 feet of you. It's probably in your best interest to spray, as they'll be sending a ton of shots towards you once you get that first shot off. And usually the inaccuracy of the spray will be nerfed by the fact that you have a huge target right in front of you that's pretty hard to miss. Once you have your movement down and are able to properly time your shots and know when to go full spray mode, the final thing you need to nail for the Deagle is crosshair placement. I've stressed this in multiple videos in the past, as I think it's the main thing holding players back in those lower ranks, and it's still something I struggle with. It's not something you can learn overnight, but working to improve it will help you out with all guns, especially the Deagle. If you want to get wand Deags like the pros do, you have to know where to pre-aim for engagements and always have your crosshair at a head level, so that way you only have to move side to side to hit headshots, as opposed to up and down as well or diagonally. Keeping that crosshair at head level even when you don't think you're going to see someone is crucial, and it saves you that extra time needed to aim before you can shoot. That way you don't get dicked on before you even fire a single round. So to recap, make sure your movement's on point and you know how to counter strafe to avoid inaccuracy, as well as timing your shots and being patient before or during engagements to make sure that you aren't whiffing each shot and wasting ammo while risking your life. Once again, the Deagle is cheap and does a ton of damage, and that allures a lot of players into buying it, especially on save rounds. But honestly, unless you have the skill to use it consistently, you're wasting your money and precious rounds for your team. Thanks for watching.